There's a kind of woman a man can walk away from and never look back. And then there's the woman he can lose and still think about years later. Not because she begged him to stay, not because she chased him, not because she made herself impossible to forget, but because of the way she made him feel when he was around her. She had something different. She knew her worth without announcing it. She could love a man deeply without losing herself in him. She could give affection without begging for attention. And most importantly, she could walk away from anything that required her to betray her own value. That is the woman a man fears losing. And here is the truth many women never hear. A man does not always fear losing the woman he finds the most attractive. He fears losing the woman whose absence changes the atmosphere of his entire life. Because beauty can catch his attention, chemistry can excite him, physical attraction can pull him closer. But peace, confidence, emotional strength, loyalty, and self-respect, those things can make him realize that he may never find the same woman twice. A man can meet another beautiful woman. He can have another conversation. He can go on another date. He can find someone else who laughs at his jokes. But there are some women whose presence becomes a standard. And once a man has experienced that standard, he notices its absence everywhere. That is why the strongest woman is not necessarily the woman who knows how to make a man chase her. She is the woman who knows she does not have to chase anybody. She understands that love should be mutual. Effort should be mutual. Respect should be mutual. And if she has to constantly convince a man to value her, she already has her answer. She does not spend her life trying to prove that she is worthy of love. She knows she is worthy. And that confidence changes everything, because when a woman truly knows her value, she stops negotiating with disrespect. She stops making excuses for inconsistency. She stops accepting half love just because she is afraid of being alone. She stops thinking that losing a man is the worst thing that could happen to her, and that is when something powerful happens. She becomes difficult to replace. Not because she plays games, not because she ignores him, not because she pretends not to care, but because she has built a life where love is an addition to her happiness, not the foundation holding her entire identity together. A man can feel the difference. He can tell when a woman wants him because she genuinely loves him and when she needs him because she is afraid of being alone. Those are two completely different energies. The first creates connection. The second creates pressure. A woman who fears losing a man may tolerate things she would normally never accept. She may overlook the unanswered messages. She may forgive the broken promises. She may keep explaining what hurts her. She may keep saying, maybe he will change. And eventually, she starts shrinking herself just to keep somebody who was never afraid of losing her. But the woman a man fears losing does something different. She communicates. She gives chances. She loves. She forgives when forgiveness is deserved. But she has a boundary. And when that boundary is crossed too many times, she does not threaten. She does not scream. She does not create a dramatic scene. She simply makes a decision. That decision can shake a man more than 1,000 arguments ever could, because suddenly he realizes that her love was never guaranteed. It was a gift, and gifts can be withdrawn when they are repeatedly disrespected. That woman understands something powerful. You can love somebody and still leave them. You can miss somebody and still refuse to go back. You can care about somebody and still choose yourself. You can wish somebody well without allowing them to continue hurting you. That is emotional strength. And emotional strength is attractive because it tells a man that this woman is not controlled by fear. She is not controlled by loneliness. She is not controlled by his attention. She is not controlled by whether he texts her good morning. Her confidence does not rise and fall according to his behavior. She has her own center. And when a man realizes that, he starts understanding that if he wants her in his life, he has to bring something valuable to the table. He cannot simply show up whenever he wants. He cannot disappear and expect her to remain exactly where he left her. He cannot give her the bare minimum and expect maximum loyalty, because she is not measuring his words. She is watching his patterns. And that is another quality of the woman a man fears losing. She listens to what he says, but she believes what he consistently does. If he says he cares but never makes time, she notices. If he says she matters but continually disrespects her, she notices. If he promises change but repeats the same behavior, she notices. She does not need 10 explanations. She needs one pattern. And once the pattern becomes clear, she acts accordingly. That does not make her cold. It makes her wise. There's a difference between being emotionally unavailable and being emotionally disciplined. An emotionally unavailable woman refuses to love. An emotionally disciplined woman knows who deserves access to her love. She does not build walls around her heart. She builds doors, and she decides who gets the key. That is powerful, because the right man will never ask her to become smaller to make him comfortable. He will admire her standards. He will respect her boundaries. He will appreciate the fact that she has a life beyond him. He will not be threatened by her independence. He will want to become a better man because being around a woman with standards forces him to confront his own. And the wrong man will call her difficult. He will say she expects too much. He will tell her she has changed. He may even try to convince her that nobody else will treat her better. But she does not argue, because she understands that a person who benefits from your lack of boundaries will always complain when you finally create some. Let that sink in. Sometimes the moment you become valuable to yourself is the moment you become inconvenient to someone who was comfortable taking you for granted. And that is okay. You were not put on this earth to make everybody comfortable. You were put here to live with purpose, to love deeply, to grow, to become stronger, to protect your peace, and to become the kind of woman who can look in the mirror and know that she did not abandon herself just to keep someone else. That woman is rare, and rare things are respected differently. Think about it. A man may enjoy a woman who's always available, but he remembers the woman who had a life. He may enjoy being praised, but he remembers the woman who challenged him to become better. He may enjoy attention, but he remembers a woman whose attention felt meaningful because she did not give it to everybody. He may enjoy affection, but he remembers the woman who made him feel emotionally safe while still maintaining her standards. He may enjoy being desired, but he remembers the woman who desired him without desperately needing him. That balance is powerful. She can say, "I love you," without saying, "I cannot live without you." She can say, "I want you," without saying, "I will accept anything from you." She can say, "I believe in us," without saying, "I will carry this relationship by myself." That is the difference between love and dependency. Love says, "I choose you." Dependency says, "I need you to choose me so I can feel worthy." Never confuse the two, because when your self-worth depends on another person's decision, you give them control over your emotional life. And no relationship should cost you your identity. The woman a man fears losing knows this. She has probably experienced heartbreak. She has probably cried over somebody. She has probably stayed too long before. She has probably made excuses for someone she loved, but eventually she learned the lesson. She learned that being loyal does not mean being foolish. Being forgiving does not mean being available for repeated disrespect. Being loving does not mean accepting everything. And being a good woman does not mean becoming a woman without boundaries. She learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is close a door you desperately wanted to keep open. That lesson changes a woman. After that, she stops chasing potential. She starts paying attention to reality. She stops asking, "Who could he become?" and starts asking, "Who is he right now?" That question will save you from years of disappointment, because potential is not a relationship. Promises are not consistency. Chemistry is not commitment. Words are not effort, and attraction is not character. The woman a man fears losing understands that. She does not fall in love with a man's future while ignoring his present. She watches how he handles responsibility, how he treats people who cannot do anything for him, how he behaves when he is angry, how he responds when she says no, how he handles conflict, how he treats her when nobody is watching. Because character is revealed in moments when there is nothing to gain. And when she sees character, she can love deeply. But when she sees repeated disrespect, she can leave deeply too. That is the part many people misunderstand. A strong woman is not heartless. She actually feels deeply. She loves deeply. She gives deeply. That is exactly why she protects her heart carefully. She knows what she brings. She knows how hard it is to find genuine loyalty. She knows how valuable peace is. She knows that when she gives someone her trust, she is giving them access to something that cannot be replaced easily. And when someone breaks that trust repeatedly, she does not spend forever trying to repair what they keep destroying. She lets reality speak. Because sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is acceptance. Acceptance that you cannot force someone to love you correctly. Acceptance that you cannot teach someone to appreciate what they continually disrespect. Acceptance that sometimes you have to stop explaining and start observing. And when a woman starts observing instead of chasing, everything becomes clearer. She sees who checks on her without being asked, who remembers the little things, who makes an effort, who keeps their word, who shows up when life gets difficult, who protects the relationship instead of constantly testing its limits. She realizes that the man who truly values her does not need to be convinced that she is valuable. He already knows. And because he knows, he behaves differently. He does not want to lose her, not because she threatens to leave, but because he understands what life would feel like without her. He knows that her laughter brings warmth into his home. Her presence brings peace. Her honesty keeps him grounded. Her standards keep him accountable. Her loyalty gives him security. Her confidence inspires him. And her love makes him want to become the man worthy of receiving it. That is the kind of woman a man fears losing, not the woman who plays hard to get. The woman who is genuinely hard to replace. And there is a massive difference. Playing hard to get is a strategy. Being hard to replace is a lifestyle. It comes from how you carry yourself, how you treat yourself, what you tolerate, what you refuse, what you build, what you believe, and how deeply you understand that your life has value with or without a relationship. So if you have ever wondered why someone stopped appreciating you, do not immediately ask, what is wrong with me? Ask a better question. Did I stop showing myself that I deserve better? Because sometimes we teach people how to treat us by what we repeatedly accept. And the moment you change what you accept, you change the entire relationship. Maybe they rise to the occasion. Maybe they walk away. Either way, you win because you finally stopped abandoning yourself. And that is where your real power begins. The woman a man fears losing is not perfect. She has flaws. She has insecurities. She has bad days. She gets emotional. She makes mistakes. But she has one thing that changes everything. She refuses to betray herself for love. She knows that the right relationship will not require her to lose her dignity. And if someone leaves because she finally demanded respect, then she did not lose the right person. She lost the wrong situation. Sometimes losing someone is not the tragedy. Sometimes losing yourself trying to keep them is the tragedy. Show love, love fully, give affection. Support your man, celebrate him, encourage him, stand beside him, but never stand beneath him. Walk beside him, because the healthiest love is not one person carrying the other. It is two people choosing to carry life together. And when a man finds a woman who can love him while still loving herself, he knows he has found something special, something rare, something worth protecting, something worth fighting for, something he cannot simply replace by walking into the next room. And that is why the woman a man fears losing does not spend her life asking, how do I make him afraid to lose me? She asks a much more powerful question. How do I become so secure in who I am that I never again accept a relationship that requires me to abandon myself? Once you answer that question, your entire life changes because you stop chasing love. You start attracting respect. You stop begging for attention. You start recognizing effort. You stop fearing rejection. You start understanding that rejection can be redirection. And you stop measuring your worth by whether one person chooses you. You choose yourself. And when a woman truly chooses herself, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she demanded to be remembered, but because she left behind something most people never learn how to give, a love that was genuine, a presence that was peaceful, and a standard that could not be bought. That is the woman a man fears losing. And if you are becoming that woman, never apologize for it. Never shrink, never chase, never beg, never trade your peace for temporary attention. Keep your heart soft. Keep your stand strong. Keep your purpose bigger than your relationship. And remember this, the right man will not be frightened by your value. He will be grateful for it. He will protect it. He will respect it. And he will understand that having a woman like you in his life is not something he is entitled to. It is something he has to continue earning. Because real love is not about finding someone you can control. It is about finding someone you never want to give a reason to walk away. And here is where the real transformation begins. Because becoming the woman a man fears losing is not about learning tricks. It is not about manipulating his emotions. It is not about pretending to be busy when you are not. It is not about withholding affection just to make him chase you. It is about becoming so grounded in yourself that you no longer need another person to confirm your value. A woman like that walks differently. She speaks differently. She makes decisions differently. She does not enter a relationship asking, how can I make him love me? She enters asking, is this man capable of loving me the way I deserve? That one question changes everything. Because when you stop auditioning for someone's love, you start evaluating their character. You stop obsessing over whether he likes you. You start noticing whether you like who you become around him. You stop asking why he has not called. You start asking whether inconsistent communication is something you are willing to accept. You stop trying to decode every message. You start paying attention to the pattern, and patterns do not lie. A man can say all the right words, but eventually his behavior introduces him. That is why the strongest woman does not fall for promises. She watches consistency. She watches whether his actions continue after the excitement fades. She watches whether his effort remains when he knows he already has her attention. Because anybody can be impressive during the beginning. Anybody can send long messages. Anybody can make promises. Anybody can say, I have never felt this way before. But what happens after 3 months? What happens after 6 months? What happens when life becomes stressful? What happens when there is conflict? What happens when she disagrees with him? That is where character shows up. And the woman who knows her worth does not ignore those moments. She studies them. Not because she is suspicious, because she understands that love is not just about how somebody makes you feel when everything is perfect. Love is also about how they treat you when things are difficult. The woman a man fears losing knows that she deserves consistency, not perfection, consistency. She does not demand that he never make mistakes. She expects him to take responsibility when he does. She does not demand that he read her mind. She communicates. She does not expect him to solve every problem. She expects him to care about the problem. There is a difference. A mature woman does not create impossible standards. She creates clear standards. She says, this is what I need. And then she watches. If he responds with effort, she appreciates it. If he responds with excuses, she learns from it. If he repeatedly ignores her needs, she does not keep lowering the standard until his bare minimum qualifies as love. That is where many women lose themselves. They start with healthy expectations. Then they meet someone they desperately want. And suddenly everything becomes negotiable. The phone calls become optional. The respect becomes optional. The honesty becomes optional. The commitment becomes optional. And eventually, she is sitting in a relationship where she is receiving crumbs while convincing herself that crumbs are enough because at least she is not alone. But loneliness inside a relationship is still loneliness. Sometimes it is worse because now you have somebody beside you and still feel invisible. The woman a man fears losing refuses to live like that. She would rather face temporary loneliness than permanent self-betrayal. She understands that being single is a season. Losing yourself can become a lifestyle. So she protects her identity. She keeps her goals. She keeps her friendships. She keeps her passions. She keeps learning. She keeps growing. She does not make the relationship her entire world. And ironically, that is part of what makes the relationship stronger. Because when two complete people come together, they do not cling to each other for survival. They choose each other from strength. He has his purpose. She has hers. And together they create something greater. That is powerful love. Not desperate love. Not controlling love. Not fearful love. Powerful love. The kind of love where both people can say, I want you in my life, but I will never destroy myself to keep you. And when a man meets a woman who thinks like that, he knows something. He knows she cannot be controlled by fear. If he treats her badly, she will not stay simply because she loves him. If he disrespects her repeatedly, she will not stay simply because they have history. If he stops putting in effort, she will not spend the rest of her life trying to convince him to care. She will make a decision, and that possibility creates respect, not fear in the toxic sense. Respect because he understands that her love is voluntary. She is with him because she chooses him, not because she has nowhere else to go, not because she is afraid of being alone, not because she thinks he is the only man who could ever love her. She chooses him. And being chosen by someone who could choose herself is powerful. That is why you should never confuse being needed with being valued. A person can need you and still disrespect you. A person can be attached to you and still not appreciate you. A person can be afraid of being alone and still fail to love you properly. But when someone values you, their behavior changes. They protect the connection. They consider your feelings. They respect your boundaries. They communicate. They make room for you. They do not constantly make you wonder where you stand. And if they make a mistake, they do not expect you to forget it just because they said sorry. They show you, because a sincere apology is not just a sentence. It is changed behavior. That is the standard. And if you are a woman who has spent years giving people chance after chance, listen closely. You do not have to become bitter. You do not have to stop loving. You do not have to assume every man is going to hurt you. You simply have to become wiser about where you invest your heart. Your softness is not the problem. Giving your softness to people who do not respect it is the problem. Your loyalty is not the problem. Giving loyalty to someone who repeatedly gives you reasons to question their loyalty is the problem. Your kindness is not weakness, but kindness without boundaries can become self-neglect. So keep your kindness, keep your softness, keep your heart. Just add standards, because the goal is not to become a woman nobody can hurt. That woman does not exist. The goal is to become a woman who knows what to do when someone hurts her. She heals. She learns. She grows. She forgives herself and she moves forward. She does not spend years trying to get revenge. She does not spend nights stalking social media. She does not spend her life waiting for an apology. She closes the chapter, not because the person meant nothing, but because she finally understands that her future means more. That kind of emotional maturity is rare, and a mature man notices it. He notices when a woman can have a disagreement without destroying the relationship. He notices when she can express her feelings without manipulation. He notices when she can apologize without losing dignity. He notices when she can stand her ground without becoming cruel. He notices when she can love him deeply without making him responsible for her happiness. That is the woman he respects. That is the woman he remembers, because she brings something deeper than excitement. She brings peace. And never underestimate the power of peace. A man can survive without constant excitement. He can survive without endless attention. He can survive without someone telling him every 5 minutes how amazing he is. But when he finds peace with a woman, he realizes how rare that is. Peace is being able to come home and breathe. Peace is knowing you do not have to perform. Peace is being accepted without being enabled. Peace is being challenged without being attacked. Peace is knowing that when life gets hard, the person beside you is not going to become another problem you have to solve. That kind of woman becomes valuable in ways money cannot measure. And when she is gone, the silence feels different. The room feels different. The conversations feel different. The days feel different. Because he is not simply missing a woman. He is missing an experience. He is missing the way he felt around her. And that is something another person cannot easily copy. Someone else may look similar. Someone else may have the same hobbies. Someone else may even say the same things. But nobody can duplicate your exact presence. Nobody can duplicate your exact energy. Nobody can duplicate the history you built together. Nobody can duplicate the way you encouraged him when nobody else believed in him. Nobody can duplicate the way you made ordinary moments feel meaningful. That is why you should never compete with another woman. You do not need to be prettier than her. You do not need to be younger than her. You do not need to dress better than her. You do not need to prove that you are better. You need to be fully yourself, because your greatest advantage is authenticity. The woman who knows herself does not spend her life comparing herself. She understands that comparison is a thief. It steals confidence. It steals joy. It makes you forget the very qualities that made you special. You do not need to become somebody else to be unforgettable. You need to stop abandoning the woman you already are. Maybe you have been through heartbreak. Maybe someone made you feel replaceable. Maybe somebody walked away from you. Maybe somebody told you that you were too emotional, too independent, too sensitive, too ambitious, too demanding. Maybe you started believing them, but listen carefully. The wrong person can make your standards feel like flaws. The right person will understand why those standards exist. You are not too much for the person who is right for you. You are simply too much for someone who only wanted access without responsibility. So stop reducing yourself to fit somebody else's comfort. Stop apologizing for having expectations. Stop thinking that asking for respect makes you difficult. Stop believing that having boundaries makes you cold. And stop thinking that walking away makes you a failure. Sometimes walking away is the greatest evidence that you finally understand your worth. The woman a man fears losing has learned one of life's hardest lessons. You cannot make someone value you by giving them more. Sometimes giving more only teaches them that they can give less. So let your love have standards. Let your attention have standards. Let your time have standards. Let your presence have standards. Not because you think you are better than anyone, because you understand that your time on this earth is limited. You cannot spend years begging somebody to recognize what another person would appreciate naturally. You cannot keep knocking on a door that someone refuses to open. And you cannot keep watering a relationship that the other person refuses to grow. At some point, you have to stop asking for permission to leave. You have to trust yourself. You have to say, I deserve better. And then you have to believe it enough to act on it. That is the ultimate transformation. When your actions finally match your self-worth. When you stop saying, I deserve respect, while accepting disrespect. When you stop saying, I want consistency, while making excuses for inconsistencies. When you stop saying, I want real love, while staying attached to situations built on confusion. Your life changes when your standards become stronger than your fear. And once your fear becomes smaller than your self-respect, nobody can manipulate you the same way again, because you know you can survive losing somebody. You know you can rebuild. You know you can cry and still continue. You know you can miss someone and still move forward. You know that heartbreak does not mean your story is over. Sometimes heartbreak is the chapter where you finally meet yourself. And when you meet yourself, you discover something beautiful. You were never difficult to love. You were simply trying to receive the right kind of love from the wrong person. So never let somebody else's inability to appreciate you become evidence against your worth. Their blindness does not make you less valuable. Their rejection does not make you less beautiful. Their departure does not make you less deserving. Sometimes people leave because they are not equipped to handle what you bring. That is not always your loss. Sometimes it is your release. And the day you stop fearing the loss of someone who does not value you is the day you become truly powerful. Because now you are free. Free to love without desperation. Free to give without begging. Free to walk away without hatred. Free to choose peace without guilt. Free to become the woman you were always supposed to be. And maybe one day, the man who once took you for granted will finally understand. He will realize that your patience was rare. Your loyalty was rare. Your honesty was rare. Your presence was rare. And he may wish he had protected what he had. But by then, you may be somewhere else. Not necessarily with another man. Maybe simply with yourself. Peaceful, focused, happy, growing. And that is the part he never expected. He thought losing him would destroy you. Instead, losing him introduced you to yourself. That is when you become unforgettable. Not because you made him regret losing you, but because you stopped needing his regret. That is freedom, that is confidence, that is self-respect, and that is the kind of woman a man truly fears losing. So remember this, whenever you feel tempted to chase someone who is pulling away, you do not have to convince someone to stay. You do not have to beg someone to see your value. You do not have to compete for basic respect. You do not have to become less loving to become more valuable. You simply have to become more loyal to yourself. Love the person who loves you. Appreciate the person who appreciates you. Give your energy to the person who gives energy back. And when somebody continually shows you that they do not value your presence, believe them. Not because you hate them, because you respect yourself. The right man will not require you to lose your dignity to keep his attention. He will not punish you for having boundaries. He will not make you constantly question whether you matter. He will know, and because he knows, he will act like it. That is the kind of love you deserve. A love where you can breathe. A love where you can grow. A love where you can be soft without being weak. A love where you can be strong without being punished for it. A love where both people understand that having each other is a privilege. So become that woman, not for him. For you, build yourself, heal yourself, respect yourself, now yourself. And never allow your fear of losing someone to become greater than your fear of losing yourself. Because the moment you choose yourself without becoming selfish, the moment you protect your heart without closing it, the moment you raise your standards without losing your kindness, you become a woman who is not easily forgotten. And if a man is fortunate enough to have you, he will understand something very simple. He does not have you because you need him. He has you because you choose him. And every day you continue choosing him is another reason for him to appreciate you. That is the woman a man fears losing. The woman who loves deeply but stands firmly. The woman who gives generously but never begs. The woman who forgives but does not forget the lessons. The woman who believes in love but refuses to abandon herself for it. The woman who can walk away with tears in her eyes and still hold her head high. The woman who understands that her worth was never determined by who stayed. It was always there. And once she understands that, she becomes unstoppable. So let them go if they must. Let the wrong people misunderstand you. Let the people who benefited from your silence complain when you finally speak. Let the people who expected unlimited access realize that access to you is earned. You do not need to prove anything. Your life will speak, your peace will speak, your growth will speak, your confidence will speak. And one day, you will look back and realize that the greatest love story was not the one where somebody finally chose you. It was the one where you finally chose yourself. And when you become that woman, you will never again be terrified of losing someone, because you will finally understand the truth. The person you should fear losing the most is yourself.